Welcome, guys. So we're going to be talking about the top 3 listing opportunities for 2023 and beyond, right? Because what we're talking about here today won't just be for this coming year. It's going to be around for a while, all right? So we're going to have some fun today. I'm MAP's executive and head coach, Aaron Simons. I've been selling real estate here in San Diego for over 18 years. Been coaching for almost 10 years. And listing-wise, I don't know. I stopped counting, but it's been about 12 to 1,500 listings over my career. And I've been privileged also to have the opportunity to coach some of the top teams here in the company as well. So here's my goal for you guys today, all right? My goal is that you're gonna leave here with an action plan to generate more listings starting today, all right? What you're gonna hear today is not theory, okay? It's proven, it's what we've done. We know it works, right? And so I will leave you with an action plan that you can go and implement starting today to set appointments and take more listings. Is that okay with everybody? I'll assume that it is. Now, we're gonna go fast because I do have a lot to cover. The webinar is being recorded, so if you miss something, don't worry, you can always go back. You can watch it as many times as needed. Also, I'll do my best to keep up with the chat. As you can see, though, there's a couple of people here on the call today. And so if I miss something, there will be time at the end for questions. We'll go back through it. We've got plenty of time to get through any questions that you have. Now, let's get started. So here's what we know, right? We know that the market has shifted, right? We've all, that's no longer a surprise. No longer do we have artificially low interest rates and double-digit appreciation. It's all a thing of the past. And so for the last 12 years, when you think about it from a consumer standpoint, it's been a no-brainer to buy a home. What could go wrong? Nothing, right? They were getting double-digit appreciation. They had low interest rates. It was also a no-brainer if someone wanted to sell a home and buy another one. Hey, they don't have a pool, they don't have a gym, they don't have a home office. No worries, let's sell this home, let's go buy another one, right? And that's what was happening. Now we know the market's different, right? The opportunistic buyers and sellers are gone. So who's gonna make up the top opportunities of home sellers? And when I say opportunistic, think about it. For the last at least 5 years, that's what's been making up the sellers. Hey, you want to sell a house? Great, let's go do it. Now, as people don't want to give up their 3% interest rate, they're not moving like they were. And we've all felt that over these last few months, have we not? So who's going to make it up? Well, we all know the 4 Ds of real estate. We've got death, we've got divorce, drugs, and disability. Now, I know there's more Ds. And I know Jay Papazon, I think it was at Mega Camp, gave us like 8 different Ds. However, the Ds are the have-to sellers. And we're not going to have time to go through all of them in detail. So we're going to narrow it down a bit for today's call. All right. And here's what we do know. The population is aging. Baby boomers make up the biggest group of the population, followed by their parents, who are the seniors. And by the way, boomers, for those of you that don't know, are defined as those born between 1946 and 1964. Now, the seniors, who are their parents, do not get these two confused, okay, guys? Boomers and seniors are different. But the seniors have also been dubbed the greatest generation, right? So when you hear about that, those are the seniors. Now, this fact, right, that the population is aging is resulting in huge opportunities that are not impacted by interest rates, not impacted by inflation, not impacted by whether we're in a recession or not. And this is also the demographic that are able to take advantage of the huge amount of appreciation that they've had over these past 3 to 5 years. And most of them are have-to sellers. All right. So if you look out there for 2023 and beyond, because again, the population is aging, this opportunity is only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Here are the top 3 opportunities. Number 1, it's boomers that are downsizing. Number 2, it's seniors that are transitioning. And number 3, it's families inheriting property. Now, when we talk about boomers downsizing, sorry guys, my green screen the light is shifting. I'm being exposed. All right, when we talk about boomers that are downsizing, what are they doing? Well, number 1, they're retiring early. Think about it. They built up all this equity, and then now they can actually use it. So they want to retire early. Hey, let's downsize, take the equity, put it in our retirement accounts. We're done. By the way, that's why we have a pilot shortage, if you didn't know that. Number 2, they're buying vacation homes, right? They're saying, hey, you know what? Our kids are getting older. Let's downsize here. Let's buy that vacation home in Florida or Phoenix or wherever they're moving, right? And they're doing that. Number three, they're helping their kids buy homes. Obviously, homes are not cheap, right? How does a first-time home buyer get into the market? A lot of times it's help from their parents or their grandparents. And they're using their equity to help their kids. What they're also doing, number four, is they're funding their grandkids' college education, right? Newsflash, it's not cheap, right? So they're helping their grandkids with college tuition. And what they're also doing, number five, is the boomers are cashing out their investment properties, right? They've gotten to a point where, you know what? We don't need the hassle. We don't need the headache. Let's sell it now. Let's take advantage of the fact that capital gain taxes will never be cheaper than what they are today. Let's sell it. We're not even going to do an exchange. We're just going to take that cash and put it in our retirement account, and we're good to go. Okay? So that's what the boomers are doing when they're downsizing. They're retiring early. They're buying vacation homes, helping their kids buy homes. They're funding their grandkids' college education, cashing out investments. Okay? And so we're going to talk about these three: the boomers, the seniors transitioning, and of course, the families that are inheriting property. Now, we could focus on all three of those, right, for days. I mean, there's so much there. But what I want to make sure you have today is that what I want to make sure you have is an action plan, again, that we can take advantage of starting this afternoon. And by the way, if you were to look at your last 12 months worth of listings, guaranteed, I would bet money that 75% of them probably fall into one of these three categories, right? If you look at your listings over the last 12 months, almost guaranteed that 75% of them were going to be one of these three opportunities: a boomer downsizing, a senior transitioning, or a family inheriting property. Now, let's talk about what these all have in common. And what they have in common is their need for professionals, such as estate planning attorneys, CPAs, and financial planners. And if you think about it, these professionals are on the front lines, just like us, coming across clients every week that have real estate needs. And think about this, right? So let's look at a couple scenarios here. If I'm a boomer and I'm downsizing, might I have questions for my CPA about capital gain taxes? Yes. Might I have questions for my financial planner about where I should exactly put my proceeds or what I should do with them? Absolutely. And by the way, do you think they're going to reach out to us first, or do you think they're going to reach out to their CPA or their financial planner first? It's going to be their CPA and financial planners. Now, if I'm a senior and I'm transitioning into a retirement community or facility, might I or the person caring for me have those same questions of their CPA and their financial planner? You bet they will, right? Because if I'm helping mom move into that retirement community and we're selling her house, I need to know where to put the proceeds so we can afford putting her into that facility. And might I also need to contact an estate planning attorney so I can update my will or trust, since most all facilities will require this? Yeah, absolutely. Here's one more example, right? If your loved one passes, regardless of whether they had a trust or it's going to go through probate, you're going to be interacting with an attorney and a CPA. That's a fact. Make sense? So as you can see, as people are making these major life changes, right? Whether they're downsizing, transitioning, or inheriting property, it's guaranteed that they're talking to estate planning attorneys, they're talking to financial planners, and they're talking to CPAs. And of course, they're going to talk to us. I'm just making the point that usually we're not the first ones they go to. It's usually one of these other professionals. So as you can see, it's impossible, right, for these professionals to conduct their businesses without coming across clients who have real estate needs on a regular basis. Does that make sense? Like, it's impossible. How could a financial planner do their job, or a CPA or an estate planning attorney, and not have a referral for real estate? It's impossible. So here's the funny thing. All of us are also coming across clients on a regular basis that have a need for these professionals as well. Are we not? Like, this is all right. So this is the light bulb moment. Listen to this. I'm going to use an estate planning attorney as an example. So first off, what percentage of homeowners actually own their real estate in a trust? Anybody have a guess on that in the chat? What percentage of those buyers that you're selling homes to actually will then put it in a trust and protect their assets? Yeah, Kimberly, you're on the high side there. Yeah, there's no official number, but most experts usually use 5%. Less than 5% of people actually take time to do estate planning and protect the asset that you sold them, right? And so we don't have time in this call to go through all the benefits of a trust, but just know this, the benefits are real, okay? If any of you do work with probate, trust me, you see those stories and you're very clear why you want to protect your assets through a trust. However, here's what we have to understand. Those buyers that you're closing, right? Think about the last 12 months. How many buyers did you close over the last 12 months? You got that number in your mind? All right. Now, how many of them did you refer to an estate planning attorney? Yeah, you see that? Guaranteed, most of us, we're all guilty of it, probably said 0. Isn't that interesting? We made sure they had insurance on the house, right? But that was it, right? That was it. And so that's the light bulb moment, right? This is the opportunity. This is the point I'm trying to make. You're coming across referrals for these professionals and you're not picking up the phone and making the contact, right? We have just as many referrals for them as they have for us, right? And the only problem is neither of us are talking to each other. And it's not our fault. It's not their fault. We're busy doing our jobs, right? Therefore, these referral opportunities are going unrealized. Because here's the funny thing. If that attorney were to call us today, right, would we have a referral for them? Guaranteed, right? Guaranteed. And if we were to call that attorney or that financial planner or that CPA, if we were to call them today, is there a good chance that they're going to have a referral for us? Yes, because we just said it's guaranteed that they're coming across clients just like we are. So here we are, real estate agents, right? And these other professionals, and yet we're not talking to realize the referral opportunity that's there. With the biggest demographic that's moving, right? Not just in 2023, but beyond. Make sense? We're good with this? All right, because now I'm going to give you the step-by-step plan to actually take advantage of this opportunity in a way that's way easier than calling expireds or for sale by owners or door knocking or any other of that hard stuff, right? We want the easy plan for listings. All right, and here's the cool thing. This is also the plan that's going to keep on giving, because what we're going to do is we're going to build a database of professionals, right? That will have referrals every single month if we treat it properly. That's what we want. All right, so here's what we're going to answer. Number one, where do we find the professionals, right? How do we build that database? And number two, what does the actual conversation look like when we find the professionals, right? What would it look like if we actually, are in front of them? So we're going to start with number one. Where do we find them? Here's the cool thing. You guys are already connected to them, right? You guys already know these people. Now, the easiest way to go about it is usually by referral, right? So if we're going to attack this over the phone, the best way to get professionals actually to speak to us is being referred to them. Now, we could go and we could type in Google, right? Top estate planning attorneys in your city, and Google will give you a whole list of them. And you could just start calling them at random, and that works too, by the way, right? You can do that. There's nothing wrong with it. You can also, by the way, take that list and you can stop by their offices and you can door knock them. The thing with financial planners especially is most of them, like Edward Jones and TD Ameritrade, a lot of them actually have retail storefronts because they want you to stop in. We'll get to that here in a minute, right? But I'm going to give you the easy plan first, and then I'll give you the harder plan, okay? So you could do that. But here's the easy plan. Here's what we do. Now, I'm assuming we're at the end of the year. We're all going to, hopefully, I'm sure you filed your taxes this year, and we all have a plan to file our taxes next year, correct? So at some point in the next 3 months, you're going to be meeting with your CPA, right? Okay, so let's just start with our CPA. By the way, we don't have to wait 3 months to meet with them, but let's start there since most of us might already have that relationship. So first off, right? Let's make sure that we ask them the question, who do they know right now that has a real estate need that we can help? Let's not forget that question. And here's what we're going to do with that CPA. We're going to ask that CPA, Mr. C or Mrs. CPA, who do you refer your clients to when they have estate planning needs? we're just going to ask the CPA, right? Or you can start with the financial planner or whatever. Ask that person for a referral to another professional. You see how easy that was? Because they're going to give you a name. And then all we have to do is call that professional and say, so-and-so CPA referred me to you and thought it would be a good idea for us to connect. You see, I'm coming across a lot of clients that have XYZ questions. Are you taking on new clients? Are you someone I can refer them to? See how easy that was? Start with one professional, ask for a referral to another, and when you call them, so-and-so CPA referred me to you, thought it would be a good idea for us to connect. Are you taking on new clients? Are you someone that I can refer my people to? Right? So that's step one. That's step one. Now, here's what we do with that, right? We now get in front of that professional. And I won't have time on today's call to go through what that whole meeting looks like, right? I can only give you the lead gen portion. I can't necessarily, we might have time for that, but we're now in front of that professional, right? So let's say that CPA referred us to a financial planner. We're in front of that financial planner. Now we can say to that financial planner, right? Hey, financial planner, or I'm sorry, maybe it was an estate attorney. That's, I think, the example I gave you. CPA refers us to an estate planning attorney. We're in front of the estate planning attorney. We say to the estate planning attorney, who do you refer your clients to when they have financial planning needs? Now that the estate planning attorney will refer us to a financial planner. Got it? Same thing. Hey, so-and-so attorney thought it would be a good idea for us to connect to see how we might help each other's business. I'm having a lot of clients coming across these questions. Are you someone that I can refer them to? Are you taking on new clients? Right? So we start with the CPA. They referred us to an estate planning attorney. We ask the estate planning attorney a simple question. Hey, who do you refer your clients to that have financial planning needs? They're now going to refer us to a financial planner. So now we're in front of that financial planner. We can now ask them, hey, financial planner, who do you refer your clients to when they have tax questions? Because there's a good chance that that financial planner might refer us to a different CPA, correct? Because we're too removed from our original professional. So now, if they refer us to a different CPA, we can do the referral train all over again. Does that make sense? So we could go on indefinitely, just simply asking one professional for a referral to another, for a referral to another, for a referral to another. You guys following that? And it's just a simple question. Who do you refer your clients to when they have XYZ need? We get in front of that person, right? And we ask the same question. Are we good with that? Are we clear? That's how we then build the referral train, okay? All right, so I know you have questions on what we say we're in front of them, okay? And I gave that conversation here just a little bit, but have any of you in real life, since we're at the end of the year, have clients calling you with tax questions? I had 3 just within the last couple of weeks, right? Have any of you worked with a client downsizing that had questions on where to put their proceeds? I'm working with the gal who's 87 who had that exact question, right? And on the estate planning side, like I said, anyone who you sold homes to, you have a referral for that professional. So if we get in front of any of these professionals, that's the conversation. Hey, I'm coming across a lot of clients who have a need for your services. Are you taking on new clients? Are you someone that I can refer them to? By the way, are you getting a lot of these same questions? Are you seeing what I'm seeing as well out there? Are you working with a lot of clients who are downsizing or transitioning or families that are inheriting something? Because if you ask them those questions, the answer is yes, guaranteed, guaranteed. So we can establish right out of the gate that we have something in common. Does that make sense? And what you have to remember is that most all professionals, including us when you think about it, but most of these other professionals, we'll call them, CPAs, financial planners, estate planning attorneys, they get their business through referrals from other professionals. So what we're doing here is not foreign to them, right? It's not foreign to them. And so when you're meeting these attorneys, right? Always, or CPAs or financial planners, always ask them the question, hey, by the way, who do you have right now that has a real estate need that I can help? Right? Who are you working with right now that has a real estate need that I can help? Ask the question, because it's guaranteed, just like you. I asked all of you, right? I asked you the question, did you sell someone a home in the last 12 months? The answer is probably yes. Did you refer them to an estate planning attorney? The answer was no, right? If they were to call you and ask you the question, hey, do you have anyone right now that has a need for my services? The answer is yes for all of you guys. Make sense? So ask them that question. So now, let's move on for a moment, okay? Let's be very clear. It's going to take more effort than just one phone call, one meeting to actually generate ongoing referrals. You might get lucky and ask that question and we hit the jackpot on that first meeting. But we know that's not realistic. We know that's not going to be the case, right? It's a follow-up game. The minute that meeting is over, the minute we walk out of that meeting or that office, they forget about it, okay? So don't think that you're going to go and create these relationships and they're actually going to remember to send you referrals. They won't, okay? I promise you, they won't. Not because they didn't like you, not because it wasn't a great meeting. They're just going to get busy back in their world, just like we're going to get busy back in our world, okay? So it's a follow-up game. And so what does that follow-up need to look like? It's very simple. Remember, just like you, they're opening new cases every single month. So therefore, we need to be checking in with them every single month. In fact, we actually need to check in with them twice a month because they're what I consider a conduit, right? They, unlike everyone else in our database, they're coming across opportunities way more frequently than most of the people that you're connected to, right? They're a conduit. So once a quarter is not enough for someone who on a regular basis is coming across referrals. We have to be in touch with them a minimum of twice a month. One phone call, one email. Right? So every 2 weeks, we're alternating phone call, email, okay? And here's the reality, by the way. If we call them once a month, we might talk to them what? Every third call? Probably, right? So really, it turns out to be once a quarter, they actually two-way communication with us, but they're also then gonna get our email once a month as well. And what do we say? Very simple. When we're calling them every month, we say, hi, Mr. Attorney or Mrs. Attorney or CPA financial planner, right? And because we're at the end of the year, I'd probably say, can you believe 2023 is almost here? I'm just checking in to see what new cases you're working on that have a real estate need I can help with. That's the conversation, right? I always reference the time of the year and I just ask the question, hey, I'm just checking in to see what new cases you're working on that have a real estate need I can help with. Like, what's wrong with that? Sure, if you want to do a little bit of forward and all that stuff beforehand, go for it. But the conversation is the same every single call. What does the email look like? The exact same as the conversation, right? Dear Mrs. CPA, can you believe 2023 is almost here? Hey, I just want to check and see if there's any new cases you're working on that have a real estate need I can help with. You want to send them a text? Go for it. If you're texting, throw in some fun emojis, right? Make it look fun. The point is, the email, the phone call, and or even the text message, it's the same script. We're just checking in to see what cases they're working on that have a real estate need we can help with. Got it? Very simple. Don't overcomplicate it, right? And if you think that calling them once a month and then emailing them once a month is too much, it's not. It's not, right? And by the way, when I say email, again, you're asking a very specific question. You're not just putting them on a drip. You're asking that specific question. That's the email we're talking about. So we're alternating every 2 weeks. Phone call, email, phone call, email, phone call, email. Okay? That's the rhythm. Now, if you want bonus credit, stop by their office once a quarter. Bring some goodies to them or their team. Bagels, coffees, donuts, whatever. Because here's what you'll notice. Most estate planning attorneys, most CPAs, and almost most financial planners are sole practitioners. They're mom and pop style shops, right? You walk in and it's usually them and an assistant or a paralegal or whatever, right? These are not high-powered corporate litigators that we're walking into. These are usually sole practitioners. So if you were to stop by their office once a quarter, right, it's just them. Bring them something nice. You don't have to let them know you're coming by. Make sense? So you can do that once a quarter. Now, if you want bonus credit, have a quarterly micro event. where you either bring the professionals together to have fun or to network, right? Bring them together for fun, do a top golf event, bring them all together. Or if you want to do a networking or a more focused mastermind, you can do that as well. Remember, they get their business from referrals from other professionals, bring them all together, be a connector. Now, here's the questions that everyone always has is two things. Number one, do we have to give them a referral for every referral they give us? And the answer is no. And number two, can we have more than one professional, in our group? And the answer is you better have 20 of each one in your group, right? Here's the thing. So it would be impossible to keep score. Oh my gosh, they sent me a referral, I better send them one. And I promise you, they're never going to ask you for that reciprocal referral. It's just not the way it works. Very rarely are you ever going to have someone say, hey, I sent you a referral, do you have anyone for me? They should ask the question, right? Shame on them, right? Maybe they need a MAPS business coach to ask that question. I don't know. From experience though, they never ask the question. They never ask the question, right? And so what we want to do is we want to build that database of 10, 20, 50 attorneys, CPAs, financial planners, and get after it. Because what we also know with professionals is the 80-20 rule. 20% of them are going to give us 80%, right, of the results. So if you don't build it big enough, you're not going to find the ones that send you the constant referrals, even though they all have them, right? You have to build it big enough so you can get the 20% that are going to be the ones that every month are sending people our way. Does that make sense? You got to build it big enough, right? And look, you don't have to spread your referrals, evenly. They're not keeping score. We don't have to keep score, right? We just need to build the database big enough that we can call them every single month and email them every single month and ask the question, what new case are you working on that has a real estate need that I can help with? That's it, right? That's it. So here's to summarize. And then we'll go into some more content here in a minute. Number one, we're clear on the top 3 opportunities: boomers downsizing, seniors transitioning, and families inheriting property. Number 2, you're now clear on how to find these professionals by referral, right? You go to one professional and you ask for a referral to another. You call them and say, so-and-so connected me with you. Thought it would be a good idea for us to connect. And number 3, we're clear on what to say if we do land an appointment with them. We're coming across a lot of clients who have XYZ need. Are you taking on new clients? Are you someone I can refer them to? By the way, are you seeing the same thing in your business? And now we're off to the races having fun. Okay? So I'm going to give you some homework, right? And I'm going to open it up here in just a moment. And then I'm going to give you one more thing. Number 1, reach out to at least 2 professionals in your database today and ask the question, right? So if you have a CPA, ask for a referral to an estate planning attorney. If you have a estate planning attorney, ask for a referral to a CPA or financial planner. And by the way, are those the only professionals? No, there's more. Those are just the top 3, okay? There's a lot more professionals that work in this space, but those are the top 3. So that's number 1. Reach out to at least 2 of them today. Number 2, stop by the office of 2 professionals this week and set an appointment to go back and meet with them. I already gave you the conversation for that. You walk into the office. If it's a financial planner, you stop in, especially if it's an Edward Jones, because they have retail storefronts, right? You ever walk in, it's like a living room. They want you to stop by. You stop by. Hey, I was in the area. I thought I'd pop in. We're having a lot of clients that have questions on what to do with their proceeds. Are you taking on new clients? Or are you someone I can refer them to? Are you seeing the same thing in your clientele? And now we're off to the races in conversation. Okay? So if you want to keep I'm going to open it up here in a minute. I know there's a lot going on in the chat. I will get to it. So just a second. If you want to keep the conversation going though, right? You have 2 options here at MAPS. I run a small group, right? We meet once a week all together and we talk about practical, tactical, and timely information to help you take more listings. Is it all on these top 3 opportunities? No, we talk about expirings. We talk about all sorts of stuff, right? But we focus on lead generation. We focus on appointment conversion, and we focus on listing management, right? Because I'm sure everyone here probably has a price reduction that they need to get as well, correct? But that's another call. So we meet once a week. It's a 30-minute call. The cost for that's $300 a month. And again, it's every week. If you want to do that, I'm going to put my contact information. You email me. Now, If you want a more hands-on approach and are interested in one-on-one coaching, email me as well, or you can visit mapscoaching.com. We'll get you dialed in, okay? So with that said, let me make sure my contact information is here so you know how to reach me. If you're interested, email me. Now, let's open it up here to questions real quick. All right, what do you guys got? Uh-oh, internet went down. The call was recorded. I know that one came through. The recording will be sent out afterward. I don't know exactly when because I don't do that part of it, but the recording will be sent out. So if you have a specific question on these opportunities, I can't read back through the chat, but repost it, or I'll open it up as well, which is always a scary thing to do since there's 300 of you guys. But let's give it a try. Who's got a question? You do have to unmute yourself if you have a question.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
My name's Eric Corey. How are you? So I actually tried to start a BNI group, which was focused on sort of doing this kind of concept, right? And a lot of the people I spoke to, the CPAs, financial advisors, and estate planning attorneys, said that they already have people that they're referring business to.
Oh, love this question. Love this question. All right. So here's the bottom line. Because here's the thing. If we went into, we didn't have time today to talk about, senior facilities and retirement facilities. Like that's a whole nother, portion of this as well. And they'll always tell you the same thing. Oh, we've got 3, it's nonsense. That's just the reflex. No, thank you. We're better than that. All right. We're better than that. Because here's what we know. Who's going to actually get the business? Who's going to get the business? It's the squeaky wheel. It's the person who asks for it, right? Because what I guarantee is that those people that they say they're connected to aren't touching them on a regular basis, asking specifically, who do you have right now that has a real estate need I can help? That's not happening, right? Same thing. If you want to go and lead generate with retirement communities, or I'm talking not like 55 plus, I'm talking facilities. Because by the way, facilities on average have 100 beds. On average, they have 6 move-ins per month. And on average of those 6, 3 have a home to sell. You'll walk in there, you'll meet with the marketing director or the sales director, and you'll hear the same thing. Well, we've got 3 agents or 5 agents on our list, but none of them are actually asking for the business. Therefore, the referrals go unrealized. So even though they say that, right? That's like an expired saying, no, we changed our mind. No, you didn't, right? They're gonna be back on the market in 3 weeks. It's just the natural reflex. Be the one to be consistent with the follow-up. You'll build that relationship eventually. And because you're the squeaky wheel, you will be the one that gets the referrals. Does that make sense? So don't be stopped by they have somebody. They might know somebody, but they don't have somebody. There's a difference. Everybody knows somebody, right? But that person is not aggressive in their follow-up, guaranteed. Great question though. Did that answer it?
I believe so. But what would be your response to that?
I say, hey, I can appreciate that. Sometimes you might have a client that might not be the right, personality fit. If that's the case, you could always use me as a backup. Would it be okay if I just continue to keep in touch? Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I use that all the time. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. If any of you ever do work with probate, what you'll find out is less than 30% of the time does the attorney refer their client to a real estate agent. 70% of the time, that client who's going through probate is left to fend for themselves. It's a crazy thing. It's a crazy thing. And the reason is because most of the time the attorney, if you ask them, right, they don't have an agent they trust enough to make the referral. So they don't do it. And they have no one following up with them on a regular basis to ask for it. So it just goes unrealized. So bottom line is, even if they say they have someone, you ignore it and you follow up and you build a relationship anyway. As a result of that, you become the go-to. We earn it. We earn the right. We're not going to win everybody, but that's my response to that. Great question. All right, who else has a question?
Hey, Aaron. So in follow-up to what you just said about a lot of these probate, people will say, I don't have anybody that I trust to refer anyways. how do I know that, and I'm still the probate person talking. How do I know that I've never heard of you before? Why should I refer my clients to you? What experience in probate do you have? I've never heard of you.
Yeah, it's the relationship gets built every 2 weeks via phone call and email, right? So what happens, and this is for anyone we cold call, right? They don't know us from scratch. But what happens is as we follow up with them, we become familiar to them, right? And after a certain amount of months that go by, they see us consistently following up. They're going to have someone like, oh my gosh, let me just give this agent somebody to get them off my back, right? And it's not exactly like that, right? But we build the trust through the frequency of communication, right? It's no different than, I don't know, I watch a lot of football. I see the exact same commercials every single game. They don't change the commercials, right? My sons are 6 and 8. They can recite, they see the commercial come on, right? Oh, they know USA, like they do it all, right? Chevrolet, go places, or Toyota, go places. They see all the commercials. Here's the thing, because they know that you see the commercial once, yeah, maybe it registers. Then you see it again and again and again and again, and all of a sudden it's familiar to the point where my kids can recite the commercials. It's no different when we build a relationship with these attorneys. Yeah, in the beginning, it's, well, I don't know you from Adam. Great, we had a nice meeting, but there's, whatever. We build the trust through the constant follow-up, right? That's how we build trust. That's how we build relationship. And like I said, even better if we take the bonus credit and we stop in once a quarter, now we're building a relationship. Yeah, I'm not saying it happens overnight. We can get lucky, right? And hit 777s on the first time, right? But it's built through relationship. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah. Who else has a question or pushback? I love pushback. I've lived it. So guys, just know I've lived it. So I'm not telling you like theory. I'm in the trenches. So go for it.
Yeah, one for you, Adam. Or Aaron, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Richard. Richard, I know you.
So Aaron, I know you've already got a guy that you refer for real estate for your lawyer needs, but can I be your number 2?
There you go. That's the exact script. Thank you, Richard. All right, who else? Janine, you got your hand raised.
Yes. So you said no drip campaigns when it comes to emails. So
Yeah.
What kind of emails would it be? And what would be the, is it a specific headline? Is it a personalized? What kind of emails should we send?
Yeah, look, subject, checking in. Dear professional, I'm just checking to see what new cases you're working on that might have a real estate need I can help with. That's simple. You can add some fluff to it, but that's the email, right? Because a drip, if you just set them up on your newsletter or whatever you drip on people with, it's great front of mind, but it's not asking them for something, right? It's like social media. Posting isn't going to get you referrals. What's going to get you referrals is a direct message that says, right, do you have any real estate needs I can help you with? That's what gets you referrals. Same thing in this relationship. It's not the drip, it's the specific ask in the email. So great question. Thanks, Janine. All right, who's next? Terry, you got your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a follow-up clarification. Did you say phone call 1 month or phone call, send an email?
It's phone call, 2 weeks later, email. 2 weeks later, phone call. 2 weeks later, email. So every 2 weeks, we're alternating phone call, email, phone call, email, phone call, email.
Thank you.
Yeah. And by the way, someone asked a recap: boomers downsizing, seniors transitioning, families inheriting property. Those are the 3 sources. All right, go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, so if the question is always basically the same thing, why can't you put it in command and every 2 weeks it asks them the same question and every 2 weeks it gives you a task to call them?
Yo, you could do that. You could do it in command that every 2 weeks or every 4 weeks it gives you a task to call them, because remember, you're alternating every 2 weeks phone call, email. So really
Right.
it's 4 weeks between phone calls, 4 weeks between emails.
Right.
You can put it in command to give you a task for that. 1000% like that. With the email, I do, like I said, I like to just preface it with time of the year. So if I was emailing right now, it'd be, can you believe that we're almost, that 2023 is almost here? Are you working on any new cases that have a real estate need I can help with? Right? Or if it's March, hey, can you believe spring is almost here? Are you working? So I like to preference time of year just to give it one touch of personalization. Make sense?
Makes sense. It makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. Great question though. All right, Lori. By the way, I like the hand raising feature. I always forget about that. It's working.
Great.
Go ahead. Lori.
We're polite down here in Nashville. Okay. So let's say you're actually having lunch with this estate planner. Are there, during the dialogue, is there a credential that you might have that would be a trigger for them to building confidence faster?
Yeah. So look and again, we can only do so much in this call, but when we meet with them, we have a 5-step program from clean out to closing. And again, if you guys email me, oh boy, let me put it back in here. I'm happy to send it to you. So, because Gary says, if you really want to be great at conversion, have a program, not just I'm a great real estate agent. So we have a very specific 5-step program from clean out to closing for probate and for people transitioning, since that's usually the cases they're working on, whether it's financial planning or whatnot. And so we usually just go over our program. Because one thing you guys have to know, have any of you guys ever had a family member that transitioned from their home into a retirement facility? Anybody experience that? It's not easy. People don't know where to start. Like, what do they take with them? What do they leave behind? What do they do with the stuff that they leave behind? Do they do an estate sale, a garage sale, donation, haul away? And then what do they need to do with the house? Does it need paint, carpet? Do they even have a budget for it? They have no idea where to begin, right? And imagine if someone's inheriting property and they live, 1,500 miles away, and here they are, they're the executive of an estate, and there's a home, and there's stuff in it, and maybe there's someone living there that they don't even know who it is, and and you would think the attorney would say, here's my people, they'll take great care of you. Not how it works. Not how it works, right? Even boomers downsizing. Now it's getting a little bit easier, but in the market we came out of, right? Buy before you sell was a huge benefit for them. They don't even know where to start sometimes. And it's very scary, especially if they've been at home for 20, 25 years, right? It's a very, so we have a program, and that's usually what I don't have time, but email me and I'll get you guys taken care of on it. Okay. So there you have it. All right. Who else has a question? I'll keep going until all the questions are answered, I promise. And I know if you're putting stuff in the chat, I can't keep up on it. So if you have a question, just unmute yourself or raise your hand and we'll answer it the best we can. That's it? We're good? I've answered all your questions on the top 3 opportunities. All right, so one of the things I'll answer that I did see is I gave you the 5 categories of boomers downsizing, because that's just what they're doing when they're downsizing. Someone had asked what those categories are for seniors transitioning. There are no categories, because the seniors transitioning from their home they live in to a facility. And by the way, facilities don't like to be called facilities, they like to be called communities. But if I say community, people think I'm talking 55 plus. No, I'm talking like a retirement facility, right? It could be, and even facilities. You have independent living, you have skilled nursing, right? You have memory care. Like there's different facilities out there, and they all need our help, by the way. And they pay commissions, most of them, just in case you didn't know that. But the thing to know about seniors transitioning is they're either going to do it because they're choosing to or because they're forced to, right? My grandmother was forced because she drove her car through the gates of her community because she hit the gas, not the brake. It's like, all right, grandma, time to make the move, right? She was forced into it, or they fall, they break a hip, they're forced into it. So they're either moving because they're being proactive, which not very many of them are. Usually they're forced into that transition, right? And this is the time of the year. We had Thanksgiving, right? I half joke that at Thanksgiving, people talked about taking away grandma's car keys. Now, coming up to Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever, they're actually going to take them away. There's going to be a big need come January as families get together at the end of the year. They make decisions, right? They make decisions. And these are oftentimes the decisions that we're making. Oh, look at that. I got a wave. Thank you, Randy. And Alfred, I saw it. I said hi to her. So hopefully whoever had that question in the chat, hopefully I answered that one. All right, let's keep going. Who else has a question, comment, pushback? or more clarification on the top 3 opportunities?
Hey, Aaron, I had a quick question.
Yeah.
Coming up with also the divorce discussion a lot, and I know they have their own attorneys, they have their own litigation to deal with. How can we insert ourselves to help out?
Oh, so thank you for bringing up divorce. Like I said, there's the 4 Ds, and I know there's more Ds, but divorce is another one. So the biggest thing that divorce attorneys oftentimes need is they need a quick reference on housing valuations, right? Because when they're taking on clients and they need to know how much equity is, they can go on Zillow, which they now know isn't accurate because Zillow said themselves it's not accurate. So the biggest resource we can be for divorce attorneys is, hey, if you ever need a quick professional, opinion on value, reach out to me. My turnaround time is 24 hours. I'll give you a number you can take to the bank, right? And then that's how we can build that relationship, because they do need that, right? They do need that. And then it doesn't mean, and you'd be surprised at how many of those divorces they'll bring you in on, because the husband might have their person, the wife might have their person, or they might need to bring 3 different opinions to the judge, and then the judge will go through and pick at random, right? So attorneys do need a bench of real estate agents. But the immediate value you can provide is quick turnaround on professional opinions of value. They find that very helpful. Now, here's 2 groups we didn't talk about. On the divorce side, you have professional mediators, because some people won't go through attorneys, they'll just go through a mediator. Huge source of referrals. The other source, going back to the estate planning attorney side of it, is professional fiduciaries, right? So what happens is you might have a family, there's 3 siblings, they don't get along. The attorney says, you know what, instead of making one of you the executor and then the other 2 become a problem, I'm gonna have a professional fiduciary act as the executor, and they'll take care of all you 3 without you guys having to fight about it. They are a fantastic referral opportunity as well. They're not the most, no offense, but they're not the most exciting people. But if you can get in good with them and build trust, huge referral opportunity. Ah, Stephen agreed. Thank you. You're too kind. I'm not gonna deny it. All right. Who else? Question, comments? We still got a few more minutes. All right, so the thing with insurance brokers, they're great to go find other professionals through. So I could call Hal, my insurance broker, and say, hey, Hal, who do you know in this field, and he'll give me names because he's in all the groups. The thing with insurance brokers, though, is they always find out after the fact, right? Because no buyer walks into a transaction and says, hey, my insurance guy is waiting for me to give him an address so he can write me up a policy. It's usually like, oh, crud, we're a week out from closing. I need to get this information to my insurance guy so we can, fund the loan. They oftentimes find out after the fact. So they don't have a lot of referrals, but what they do have is a lot of connection to other professionals. That's been my experience. All right, Terry, you're up again.
Someone mentioned chamber or professional organizations. Have you found a lot of luck there, or is that more?
Yeah, look at any professional, whether it's a chamber, whether it's a BNI, whether it's a Toastmasters, whether it's a meetup.com. Remember that oldie but goodie? If you want to get into a serving seniors is usually the name of the meetups. I'll tell you what, you go to one of those meetup groups and you'll find all sorts of professionals there. And will there be other real estate agents? Absolutely. Will they follow up as aggressively as you? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Right? Because whoever has the strongest follow-up game is going to be the one who wins the business. So just like the gentleman who asked earlier about those other professionals who say they know someone, ignore it. It's the one who follows up that's going to get the most consistent and persistent agent who follows up earns the referrals. But yeah, those are all great sources, right? Just like Google. Google's a great source. You can go door knocking. You can walk into their offices. I gave you the conversation for that. Doesn't have to be harder. I think it's easier. The referral conversation I found has always been easier, right? In fact, we used to have a title rep. And by the way, title reps often have needs for attorneys. A lot of estate plan attorneys have need for title reps because they're recording stuff into trust and things like that. He would set me up once a week with an attorney, because all he would say to the attorney that he was doing business with on title was, hey, do you have a go-to agent? They'd say no. He'd say, oh, you should talk to Aaron. I'd call him up and say, hey, so-and-so title referred me to you. Let's meet. It wasn't any harder than that. It wasn't any harder than that. And they always said yes. They always said yes. And that's why I know the meeting's not the hard part. The hard part's the follow-up for you guys, because they'll love you. They'll love everything you say in that meeting, but they will forget about you the minute you walk out of it. All right, Russ, go ahead. Someone said you had a great question. What is it?
Is there a way, because
Yeah.
there's various different ways for us to find out when someone passes away, or we might even know in our neighborhood.
Yes.
Way. But how
Yes.
how to get in front of their kids. Their kids might never have heard of us. You know, we could have been best friends with the person who just passed away, you know, but their kids don't know. They could be out of state. You know, we don't know who the probate attorney is.
Yeah.
How do we find that information?
Yeah, so you find it out through the court. It's public record, right? So what happens is if someone passes away and it's not in a trust, and the estate is worth more than $50,000 for most, that's usually the threshold for most probate, it's going to go to probate, right? Because you cannot pass property on to beneficiaries if it's not in a trust. The only way you can do it, there's only one way you can do it. Anybody know? Joint tenants, right? Joint tenants. If husband and wife own as joint tenants, when one dies, it'll go to the spouse. When the spouse dies, it ends up in probate, right? So no matter what, at the end of the day, there's only two ways to transfer real estate to beneficiaries. It's either trust or probate. So 95% of real estate goes through probate, because we know that only 5% of people have a trust. So to your question, how do you find out? You have to check the court records. Every court system in the United States is different. Every city is different. Some you can go online and you can see the case filings every day and you can see all the information. Some you can go online and only see partial information. Some you go online and you see nothing. You actually have to go to the courthouse to see the case filings. There are services out there that do aggregate the data. The most popular one that people use is alltheleads.com. Alltheleads.com. That's probably the most popular. It's not cheap, but they'll aggregate the data for you on a monthly basis. I had a local service that did it for me weekly, right? Prior to using a service, I had my admin go to the courthouse every week. She'd go, we had a form, she'd fill out all the information. It told me who the executor was, where they lived. Now, in my court system, it gave me their phone number too, right? Now, of course, we were do not call RESPA compliant on it all. And worst case, though, it gives you the attorney information, right? So the courthouse is where you find that information, is the bottom line. But there's not one answer to every courthouse is different. You just got to be a detective on that. So great question, Russ. Phenomenal source. We didn't have time to get into probate today on it, right? But again, phenomenal source to lead gen. Absolutely. All right, who else?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it a good idea to go, and how could we go after, let's say, the insurance companies that are providing services for the seniors?
Again, that one, someone asked about insurance, and I'm just going to say my experience has been they usually find out after the fact. So for me, they've been more beneficial in connecting me with other professionals than actually being a actual lead generation or referral source.
But I mean on the healthcare side.
Oh, you know, actually, let me answer. Can I answer it a different way? You reminded me. Another great source are what are they called? Social workers. Social workers in hospitals, because social workers go in hospitals. Because if a senior falls and they end up in a hospital and the doctor says you can't go back to your home, social worker gets involved and places that person in a care facility and then works with the family. My mom just went through that. They're a phenomenal resource. And by the way, I put my email in there because, again, I have a small group that meets every week. We talk about it, all sorts of stuff. But you guys are bringing up some great stuff that I don't have time for in here, but we get to it in that group. So if you're interested, you can email me and I'll get you the info on it. But yeah, anyone in that in-home healthcare industry, which is really what you're asking, Maria, are great people to have in your network. They are. Because, by the way, when we say retirement facilities, it's not just the big ones. There's a lot of residential retirement facilities, right? Where someone owns a home and they have 5 bedrooms and they turn it into a small private residential facility, they actually own 2 or 3 of those, right? They are also a great resource for listings. I mean, you see how big this industry is? And by the way, if you ever want the population data, there's an author that Gary recommends, Harry Dent. I think he wrote a book. Well, the book I read a long time ago was The Roaring 2000s. I know he's got a bunch of other material out since then. He talks about the demographic changes and the different trends out there. So if you ever want to go down the rabbit hole on the actual data of demographic shifts, Harry Dent is probably the lead author on that stuff. Yeah. They call it, I mean, it's the silver tsunami. It's here. It's here. Yeah, you know what? Public administrators. So what happens is, this is really interesting. If someone passes away and they don't have a trust, it goes to probate and they have no beneficiaries. They have no family. They can't find anyone related to this person. It goes to a public administrator. It basically goes to the public administrator at the city, who then has to sell the property. Yeah. It's a great one. You'd be surprised. Unfortunately, it's sad, but yes, people pass away with no beneficiaries. It happens. And yeah, that's what the public administrator does. So yeah, that's another great one. Thank you, Jerry. People forget about that one. All right, who else? We got 2 more minutes. I'll be on the hot seat for 2 more minutes. I hope you guys see how big of an opportunity this is. And like I said, when you look back, I've got a lot of coaching clients with a lot of inventory. I promise you, when I quiz them, they'll tell you every week, where did it come from? Where did it come from? Where did it come from? 75% are going to fall into one of these 3 categories, right? It might not be, you might look at it first and say no, but when you get into it, you're like, oh yeah, I guess that is a version of a boomer downsizing or a senior transitioning. Oh, funeral homes. Where do people find out that they actually have to get an estate planning attorney and file probate? Where do they find out? Yeah, funeral home director, right? Because what's amazing is you might see, probate cases where the person passed away 9 months ago. And it's like, wait a minute, 9 months ago, they had no idea. They had no idea that they had to file probate. But oftentimes the funeral home director is on the front lines because they want to get paid. And you know what? I'm just going to tell it how it is. When someone passes away, the people burying them usually want that person's estate to pay for the funeral. They don't want to pay for it themselves. And so how do you get the money? Well, you got to file probate. So it usually comes from the funeral home director. So that's a great one. Great point. See, look at that. All sorts of opportunities here. That's, maybe on the morbid side, but it's reality. It's fact. It's fact. All right, who else? 1 more minute. No, I guess we're up. All right, 1 more minute.
Hi, Aaron.
Go ahead. Last one.
Hi, Aaron. Thank you so much for the information. It's great information. So I'm glad I was able to make the webinar. Quick question for you. You mentioned demographics in a book. You said the name of the author is, and what is the name of the book? Oh,
the name of the author is Harry Dent. The book, his old book was called The Roaring 2000s, where he got into demographics. He probably, I know he's got a website, he's got a ton of information, but that was, Gary actually recommended that book back in 2005, I think. I think it was at family reunion in 2005 when I took down that note. And Gary still refers back to him. So there you have it. So, all right, guys, I appreciate y'all for being here. You've got my contact information. If there's